Hey everyone, I'm here with Glori Meldrum, the CEO of G Squared and founder of Little Warriors in the Be Brave Ranch. Glori, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, dear?
I'm excellent. So thanks for taking the time today. Just wanted to get a sense from you, just kind of where things are in your world and a little bit about your background.
Well, you and I go back a long time.
We
I mean,
do.
since we were 12. Not really. I think that COVID is a little bit different for me. As you know, I was raped as a little girl by my grandfather. And so that's why I started Little Warriors in the Be Brave Ranch and really raised myself when I was a kid, for the most part, and didn't have a lot of support. And 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 cervical cancer, and they weren't sure if I was going to make it or not. I had a pretty big tumor, and the cancer was obviously from HPV, so all kind of those types of cervical cancers are. And so, really good chance that I ended up getting it from my grandfather. And so, for me, I've just been through so much in my life, and I think that the cancer journey really taught me a lot about resiliency. Is that when I kind of came out of the fog of, a cancer diagnosis, which is, awful, I was able to kind of start to see the gifts that I had never ever seen before in my life. The more love I had for my husband or my kids, I noticed myself being way more vulnerable, kind of taking off the armor, being more authentic and human as a leader and a person. And so during that cancer piece, I really had to deal with my fear because I had a 14-month nervous breakdown. I was one step away from a bottle of clonazepam. And so for me, this situation, I actually look at it, I think, with really different lenses than most. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful to still have my company and my kids and everybody's healthy. Is it hard? And do I, miss my staff like crazy? And, I had to shut Little Warriors down for a bit, which will reopen June 1. I miss all of those things, but, I also see the gratitude in, like I did through cancer, is the appreciation of the small things. Like last night I went for a 5-mile walk, right?
Yep.
Like, and looking at we've got bird feeders, and I'm really just trying to stay really grounded and really rooted, and look at strategically. And that's obviously the business that I'm in, is kind of the business marketing communication strategy, is where are the opportunities? And I would say that most of the stuff now, like we're helping with people that are stuck and they're like, this doesn't work anymore, we don't know what to do. There's those clients, those individuals, and then the other ones are like, how do we get ready to rock and roll? Like, how do we get ready for our business to be geared up 2.0? What are the markets that are going to be busy that we can go after and get ready? So I really see two separate camps. And so it's kind of funny, half the day I'm like, okay, you guys can do it. Let's look at this. Let's move in this direction. And then the other half is the ones that are maybe they're not stuck. They're strategic. They're resilient. They're used to being in the trenches. They know how to fight. They know how to move and pivot. And so as far as the work that I get to do every day, like I love it, right? Like I love that piece. And as a company, there's lots of people that are like, hey, we're going to give you free services and free advice, and it's something we always did, right? And so for us, we took the time to go inward and do a lot of research on upcoming markets. Like I think it's Colliers, Economic Development Edmonton, Calgary, Edmonton Global, Calgary Global. There's millions of dollars worth of research out there that really do lay out where the future is for markets in Alberta. And so for us, we did all of our homework, and now we're aligning with the sectors where there's going to be opportunity. And I love doing that. Like it's a time you can either be stuck in fear, which I spent enough time with my life there, and I really don't want to go back because it leads you to some very dark shit. or you can kind of get rooted mostly in love. It doesn't mean that I don't have some fear, but rooted in love to say, like, what do we need to do to get this done? Let's make this shit happen and come out of this more evolved and have grown and more appreciative than when we went in. Because to be really honest, I think, like, I'm a maritimer, is that Alberta, it's always been good. It's always been moving and shaking. And, you know, now we've got to learn, like, really, really learn in a depression, not a recession,
Right.
in a depression, to go, you know what? How are we going to move our businesses forward? Where are the opportunities? Where should we be looking? Do we vertically integrate other things? Like, so for me, I look at it and I get excited and I'm like, wow, like, this is so cool that it's a time to, I don't know, be reborn, right? And look at things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one, I mean, your story, I mean, Glori, you're such a trooper. I mean, from your story of the sexual abuse when you were young, but now the cancer. One of the things that I think a lot of business leaders are faced with is that they've never faced the kind of fear that they're faced with right now, and it's that fear of unknown. And I don't know, you know, when you're diagnosed with cancer, you've got something like child, you know, sexual abuse. There's a lot of fear, but how do you, any words of advice around that? Because it's that fear of the unknown that is scaring the hell out of people.
You know, and it's so true, is that, like, you know, even, and I think there's a lot of paranoia. And this is what I've learned. It's only my experience. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. Is that, you know, I can remember after, you know, I mean, I spent 35 days in a trauma center in the US. Like, when I say I had a 14-month nervous breakdown, I was on anxiety meds, sedatives, sleeping pills, and a shit ton of other stuff. Like, there was 1% left of who I was. I'm not kidding. And anybody that knows me, I'm energetic and I'm happy, and cancer broke me and I really almost never came back. And so for me, every day is a gift, is that I really believe, and these are things that help me get through it, is that whatever you believe in on the face side, and for me, it's God. And to me, God is love and love is God, right? Like, I've got a gay daughter. My God loves everybody. And so I really lean into the faith, as I did that day in the tub, that I looked at a bottle of clonazepam to take, or really to say, God, I can't handle all this shit. Can you just take some of it? And that really was the turning point of my entire life. And so when things get tough, I have to talk to myself and say, Glori, you're not in control. We're all going to die. Like, there's a quote that I say often, is that I never started to live until I knew I was going to die. That could be tomorrow. That could be in 20 years. I don't know. But I can tell you one thing, I'm going to fucking live. Right. And so one of my pieces of advice is that, you know, like, spending time in nature and with your family, is that even if when you're losing business, or when I thought I was losing my life, is that holding on to those things that make you happy. For me, I love birds, eating the bird seed, right? Or walking with my husband in the river valley. And tomorrow I'm delivering candy to a bunch of my staff working from home. Is that I stop and think, what do I need to do to fill my soul? Like, this weekend, there was a lady that got beaten up really bad, and I saw it on Facebook, and she was like my size pretty much. And I got 5 bags of clothes, and I got them to the person to get to her. Is that I also, besides faith, as I look at how can I serve, whether it's checking in on someone, you know, doing something kind for someone, because that fills my bucket, right? And making sure that I'm not disassociating and getting caught up in that cloud of fear. I've blocked all news feeds. If you're posting body bags from New York, I've blocked you, or I've snoozed you. Is that I'm controlling what shit, and it is shit, that I'm letting come into my brain. Because it's enough seeing that there's even looking outside, that there's barely any traffic, the grocery store is like, I don't need to be reminded anymore and have more fear created. Is that I want to spend as much time in love and connected with other people. Like, this weekend, I'm throwing a concert in the Greenfield for my neighbors. Yeah. And everybody can be in their yards. And I did one a couple weeks ago, and people came up to me and they're like, Glori, this is the most joy we've had in 2 months. So how do we bring joy to other people? Right? Sure. so in this time, what are those things that make you happy, even just a little bit? And the other thing that I want to say is that, being sexually abused, the cancer, like, as entrepreneurs, we're smart. That's the gift that God gave us. And you always hope that people just don't do it to make money, but to do good as well. Yep. Is no COVID, no cancer, nobody's going to take that shit from us. So always remember the trenches of how you started your business and how you built it, and reconnect with that passion, because nobody can take that away. It doesn't matter if you lose everything, you're going to rebuild it back. You did it before. We can't forget and lose who we always were and how we were born. We love being business people. We could never imagine. I think I worked for someone else for a year and a half. That was a bit of a shit show because I'm way too eccentric. But there's a passion and a skill set and a confidence that I really encourage people to like plug back into that and get lit back up, right? Is that you're smart enough to got your business where it is today before COVID. You don't think you can do it again? 100% you can. I never thought I'd come back from cancer, and I did, right? We can do it.
You know what? And I think, and that's a great message. And I think that that's one of the things we're trying to get across is that our province, Alberta needs strong entrepreneurial drive and strong business leadership now more than ever. We need people to band together and have that kind of, we're going to get this done attitude. So, I mean, I agree with you 100%. One of the other things you and I have talked about is business leaders letting their guard down. You called me out, and I've mentioned it to a number of people. What we need to let our guard, because I have these conversations with people, quite a few of them, and we've got our, we're great, we've got this, it's all good. And then I hit stop recording, and then the truth comes out.
Right.
And it's like, I'm scared to death. I don't know if I'm going to be here in a year. People breaking down. What are your thoughts on that?
So I call it armor. And it's one of the things I do a lot of public speaking around, is that when I was a little girl, and this is the same for everybody, is when I was a little girl and I got all of my life, I kept putting on pieces of armor. I had so much armor on, you couldn't have broke it with a tank, until I completely collapsed through cancer and was like, you know what? Fuck this armor. Like, I think we think that we like need to be a certain way as a CEO. Like, my office is purple. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't look like a CEO, but what does a CEO really look like? And so if someone asks me, like, I was talking to a potential client the other day, and they're like, how's your day? And I said, it's been really tough. One of my friends has a couple of days to live. And she was like, she couldn't believe I said it. Right. And so for me now, my armor is like naked. I put armor on during my life through my sexual abuse, through my like all those pieces. But when I really hit rock bottom with cancer, I realized that the armor and the bullshit and the way that everybody thought I should be and what you should wear and, and always be behind a desk and you never let your guard down and never be emotional. And I just tossed it out the window. I'm like, I'm done with this shit. So if I notice myself putting on a piece of armor, I'm really aware and I take it back off, because I don't want to show up anymore with armor, because armor there's a difference between leadership, the old traditional way, and human leadership. Like at the beginning of COVID, I had to lay off 85% of the Little Warrior staff, and I had a couple layoffs at G Squared. Like, I cried through all of them. Yeah. And is that a CEO thing to do? Who's to say? Right. I'm a human before I'm a CEO. So it really is, if you don't let the guard down, how do you really have an honest relationship, whether it's with your kids or in your business? So I always joke, this is just me. I'm not for everybody. I'm a big glass of water, but I am who I am. And if I'm sad, I'm not going to hide it. If I'm having a bad mental health day, because I have severe anxiety and PTSD, then I tell people that. If I'm crying because I know my friend's got a couple days to live, is that like, I don't not tell the truth anymore. Like, the word CEO to me is human leadership. Like, I honestly want to like redo all my cards and be like human leader. I just lead from like that place of love and that place connected to my own heart, right?
Yeah.
And I think that this is such a good time for us to be able to look inside and be reflective of what we want in our life and the type of leaders that we want to be. There is certainty. We just don't know what it is yet. It's certain industries, it's buying a building for less money. Like there's so many. Is focus on the good things and not on the shit, because the shit's fear and it'll take you into a swamp, but it doesn't mean don't follow the rules and all that stuff, but it's your thinking. Like what you think about is what happens, right? And I want to think good and positive things, and I want to enjoy every day, because I know what it's like that I didn't know if I had any more days, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And well, you know what, and that's one of the things that when you talk about that, and again, a few people have been bringing it up, is that right now, because of that fear and that unknown, I mean, one of the big concerns is just the whole mental health side of things. So kind of being aware of it and talking to people. But again, from your experience, what other words of advice would you have?
The first thing about mental health, and like I'm a 10 out of 10 in PTSD, like on the medical charts. I'm a 10 out of 10 in anxiety. Like I hate, and if I feel like somebody's not right, I ask them questions, to try to get that out of them, right? To try to get them to open up. Because I am really worried that as people lose their businesses and their identities are tied to those, what's going to happen on that mental health and suicide side, right? So we've all got to be there and reach out. And like I try to call 5 people a week and be like business guys, and be like, how you doing? Or we'll set up a Zoom call. Is that being there for each other is like the greatest gift that we can give each other right now.
On the for Little Warriors and the Be Brave Ranch, I mean, what's the impact of this downturn for your organizations there? I mean, I can't imagine the challenge it's going to be going forward for funding.
And what's interesting is that the old me would have worried every night. So to give you so we're the only one in the world. We're in medical journals around the world. We're the Mayo Clinic, the Betty Ford of treatment for kids that have been sexually abused. We're the only in the world. There's nothing like us. The U of A is our partner. They measure everything we're doing. We reduce PTSD in kids by 50%, right? So unbelievable program. Even before COVID, we were at 35% capacity, because nobody wants to admit that people rape their own kids, that there's 8-year-olds being human trafficked in porn rings, in cults. We treat them, right? And so, I could really freak out. I'm going to be really honest. And that's the one area in my life that I really need to be careful, because I'll be like, everything I built, these kids aren't going to have the help. What if I lose it and people don't give me money? And then I got to go back to leaning into faith, right? I got to lean into faith that God is going to give me and his children everything we need to survive, because we're doing God's work, right? And honestly, I'm working, I'm hustling, I'm calling donors. Well, I'm still running my business and raising 4 kids. But the reality is that it's probably only 5 to 10% of the population really that has any kind of significant funds to give, right? And so with that one, I mean, when we laid off 85% of a 50-person team, I cried for a week before I did the video. I couldn't even do it. And it looks like so we treated 100 kids online for the last 6 weeks. And we just didn't take any new kids in, but it looks like we're going to reopen June 1, very small and very slow. But I'm telling you, I'm going to go kiss the ground. I would have never thought my facility would be empty. It was, out of all the COVID stuff, it was most heart-wrenching. I'm not going to lie. And, Alberta built Little Warriors in the Be Brave Ranch. If we look at all the money, and once again, they're resilient, we're creative. We sometimes forget who we are, right? That we're builders, and it's I'm not even from here. I'm just I've been here 25 years, but it's who we are. It's through our DNA and our fabric, and we're entrepreneurs that find solutions in creative ways, and nobody gives more than Alberta. Is that I just lean into faith, and I know that God will provide me what I need and what Little Warriors needs, because he always has for 13 years. And I'm still going to work really, really hard. But once again, it's cancer, heart, stroke, COVID, none of it's in our control. So I'm only going to really focus on what I can control, and me getting all stressed out about little warriors, it's only bad for me.
Yeah.
You know, so my biggest thing is that, and I'm not like a like religious person, is like, I have a gay daughter. I'm love is God, God is love. I know there's something that's bigger than all of us. And in these times, and during cancer, and even as a little girl, I really leaned into that faith that God had me, right? And I'll continue to do that with Little Warriors. I have more control on the G squared side, because I can help people solve problems. But when it comes to Little Warriors, a lot of the money's been wiped out. But it's also national, so maybe maybe other markets are going to, donate more. Like, I think there's a plan, and I just know that we'll always be looked after, right? Some people are going to be like, hey, that's crazy, but I just know we will, right?
Yeah, no, and that's all we can really do right now. I think is just keep the faith and keep working at it. So, Gloria, what would you say to that? You've got experience. You've been in business 25 plus years. You've got that experience. What would you say to that young entrepreneur or that person that owns that small little beauty salon or restaurant or retail shop that's on the verge of losing everything? I mean, it's that maybe doesn't have the experience or the longevity maybe that you and I have been through and other business leaders. What would you say to them?
What are the ways that you can survive, right? Is it, that you merge with someone else? Is that you close and get your landlord to give you a deal, reopen into a small space? Try to get creative, strategic, focused, but you cannot do that in the umbrella of fear. So fear is one piece. Focus and strategy are over here, and you need to be calm and grounded to do that. Trust me, that didn't come to me overnight. I think I'm a slow learner, and that took a long time. And the other thing is that if you are going to lose it, and I said it earlier, if you're an entrepreneur, you will rebuild it every time. Look at the guys in the 80s that lost everything. Okay, they're mostly all around today and have massive businesses. It is in our DNA, right? Is that the only one not making a comeback is the one that doesn't want to,
Yep.
right? Is find that grit and that resilience and that ability to fight for what you want in your soul, right? Don't be scared to pick up the phone, and if someone knows you or me, and be like, hey, you know what? Can I have 15 minutes of your time? I'm struggling with this. Like, everybody knows someone that's smarter than them. I know a lot of people smarter than me. And I'll pick up the phone and ask and be like, listen, like with Little Warrior, what about this? And da 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 da. Is that get strategic, get focused, get out of that fear swamp. It will not allow you to stay alive. You gotta move. And, even I've called people that I don't even know. Like, I'm not even kidding, that I know are smart. Like, a guy, Phil Milroy, Tony Francisini. I never knew them, but they work out at my gym. And I was like, can I have coffee with you? This is before COVID. And they're like, you're a Little Warriors lady, right? I'm like, mm-hmm. And they're like, okay. And I got like, I don't even care. Like, be brave, be bold, ask for the meeting, ask for the call, ask for the help. Because most people like you and I, we're not going to say no, right? Like, we really, out of all the people that we've known for 25 years, and the t-shirts that we have that are mangled, there's a few of them, is ask, be brave, be courageous, and know that in your soul, you may have to reconnect with that confidence, but it's there and it never left. It's just a little beaten, right?
It's interesting too, is that even if you do ask that person for a coffee and they say no, who gives a shit? Go ask somebody else.
Go ask somebody else, right?
I had my daughter say, Dad, I need to go look for a job. I said, well, go look for a job. She goes, well, should I apply here or here? I said, you should be applying at 25 places. And she kind of looked at, but you gotta keep going, right?
I think that's such a great point, is that, like, don't let down. Like, if we want this province to survive, it's time to fucking fight.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's fight for the new industries that are coming in, fight for energy, fight for each other. Like, the other thing that I say, like, any work that I get, and I'm just getting ready to get my book printed, and I went with a local printer. I went with a local editor. Is that the people that you know and love, if you have any business, give it to them. Got it? Next time you go to order from Amazon, look local and figure out who could I get it from. And in YPO and EO and tech, like support each other. If I have a piece of work and even if it costs me more to use a YPO member, every single time I do. Yeah. So we should be not looking for the cheapest price, but helping people because other people are going to remember that in the future and it's the right thing to do, right? And so for me, I just try to support YPO and EO in particular because that's where I came from and where I've spent my last 25 years is that, I needed a bunch of PPE equipment. And my friend Travis Halwich owns a PPE company for safety. I was like, hey, I need all this stuff for the ranch, for G Squared. Can you get it for me? Yep, got you, Glori. He's like, thank you, right? Like, support your friends and your colleagues, because that's one way that we stay protected. Don't go to another province. You know what I mean? Like, this is a chance for us to make Alberta stronger than it ever has been, right? Let's do that. Let's work together and let's be human leaders in that process and throw away that old idea of what a CEO is because it's not anymore, right? We're just human beings leading companies.
You know what? And it's interesting when you say that too. And I mean, I'm a very proud Canadian. I'm a very proud Albertan. I love Calgary, but I think one of the things is, I mean, you're based out of Edmonton, and I keep saying to people that, right now the Send It Together campaign is a little bit Calgary heavy, but we want Edmonton, we want Grand Prairie, Lethbridge, Fort McMurray. We want everybody to come together because as much as we love to, be competitive and see which city is better, I think right now we need to pull together as a province. And any thoughts on that or any words that you'd have for your counterparts in the north part of the province?
Well, it's funny, and I'll obviously put this on all my channels and I'll send it to some friends, and because there's some really great leaders in Edmonton as well as Calgary. And it's funny is like maybe because I'm a maritimer, but for the 26 years that I've been in Alberta, like even with Little Warriors, like I have a donor. I brought her to meet one of my other charities and she wrote them. Like, I just don't think like that. I think there's so much abundance for everybody. Like, then why have a poverty conscious, right? Like, so, that's one thing that I really, and if something's a better fit for another marketing business strategy company, I'm like, hey, you know what? These guys are awesome. They like work with them. Is that we got to get out of that competitive piece. We're all humans. We got to work together. I mean, we went from a have province to a holy shit, we're in trouble province, right? Is that if we don't all work together and let down our guards and be one, we're not going to make it. And so I really want to hear the voices from Grand Prairie and Lloyd and Lethbridge and Edmonton and Red Deer. And I think the more that we do this and really share from the heart of where we're at and not just get on here and be a talking head is really be honest, right? Is that, we've got to be here to support each other. And so I'll do my best to kind of spread that because I really love what you're doing within it together. Because the reality is we are, and this is the most difficult time. You heard it's Todd Hirsch from Economic Guy from ATB is like, this isn't a recession. This is a depression. Yeah. And think about all of the government bailout, like all the packages, who's paying for that? Yeah. Like we have such a long way to get. We need every innovative, creative, strategic human leader in this province to pull together. And I really do wish there was the government was pulling more people, leaders together to solve problems and not just mostly trying to solve it on their own, because it's what we do as entrepreneurs, right? Like I'm not a psychologist yet. I built a world-class treatment center. Like we can do anything. We build things, right? I'd love to see them engage us more and be like, because I've been at them saying, listen, let me help with mental health because it's such a passion of mine, but they haven't taken me up on it yet. Hopefully someday they will. But you know what? We've all got to be united. We've all got to be in it together. And if you need somebody, just ask, right? Like I spend at least 2 hours a day trying to help people as much as I can, right?
Well, and I think is now in this, my personal view is that now is not the time for political grandstanding. We don't need to worry about what party or it's not about criticizing. We got to pull together. So
it's, it's been hard. Is I will say that, Trudeau and I'm I'm not a political girl at all, but the 75%, the 40,000, all these programs, thank you.
Yep.
And it's kind of funny how much people are shitting on Kenny and Trudeau, and you see the NDP going at Kenny. It's like, can you not in this moment get along? And I got to tell you, the more I see the other parties fighting, and it doesn't mean I even like either one of them, like, it doesn't even matter. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, get along. Like the undermining and the competitiveness, and I'm going to be right to be right, and I'm going to stab you. Like, if the political leaders can't make an example of how to play nice, perhaps we show them, Jeff, as an entrepreneurial community, what it's like to get along and not just take stabs at each other. Because I got to tell you, I deleted like almost all the political things. Yep. Like, I would not want Jason Kenney's job or Trudeau's job for $10 million. I would not want it. Like, I don't know how they get up out of bed. Like, have a little respect, whether you love them or hate them, that they're doing this job in this market. None of them signed up for a pandemic, a financial collapse of the whole country. So respect is another thing, is even online, I know that everybody's like agitated and not very patient. Like, be loving, be loving. And in everything that you do, like, there's so much fighting on there and everybody's mad. And I'm like, just love. Like, what you speak is what's in your heart. And if you speak hate, you really need to look in the mirror and go, ooh, there's something in there, right? Yeah. Is that, just be respectful, right? Like, and so that's one thing for me is I've not made, except I actually have thanked Trudeau and thanked Kenny. Like, Kenny's team has been really good at helping us get Mark Joffrey from Alberta Health Services and the medical office has been really, really good to us, try to getting Little Warriors open. I still haven't gotten any funding from them ever, but guess what? I thank them. Do I love them? We have a history, but you know what? Sometimes thank you is due, right? Yeah. And so they're doing the best that they can. And I think, to other people watching this that work for people like you and I, give your leaders, your human leaders, give them a little bit of grace. It's hard right now. It's hard to come into the office every day and not want to cry. Yeah. It really is. Like, we do a Zoom thing every day, and I haven't been on it because I've obviously been out getting work, right? And one of my guys said, I wish you were on there. And I was like, sweetie, I adore you, and I do, but like, we've been up till 1:30 in the morning finishing this proposal. And he's like, really? I didn't know that. I said, never ever guess, underestimate. You know me. My team has been with me forever. Like, I'm fighting to get those other two people that got laid off to get their jobs back, to protect you, to build a new future. Like, just because I'm not on a Zoom call, never ever underestimate my love or my commitment. And he's like, yeah, I didn't think about it that way, Glori. I was in my own space. And I said, if you ever need to ask, just call me. Yeah. And so, have some grace for us, because we have never been through this. You or I've been through lots of shit in my life, never a pandemic. I'm doing the best job I can. Am I less patient with my kids? Oh yeah. With homeschooling, and I'm less patient with everybody. And I'm sorry, but I really am trying my best. And we all are. It is the most stressful situation in our business careers, deciding who gets laid off. You want to know what that's like? No, you don't want it. Like, there's a reason most people don't want to be entrepreneurs. Yeah. Because there's tough decisions to make when you love your staff to go, great, I'm closing this office. These 10 people are gone. I know people that have laid off thousands of people. Yeah. You know what? We stay up. Like, over 2 people, I wasn't sleeping. Yeah. They're my family, right? That, have some patience for us, because we really, really are trying our best to manage through this with no handbook, right?
And I just was going to say that, I think most business leaders and entrepreneurs, we don't just have all we second guess ourselves, and there's no handbook. It's just,
we're our biggest critics. We are.
Yeah.
Right. So, we are our biggest critics.
Yeah. Glori, any final words you'd have for business leaders that are out there?
Honestly, and I'm even saying this too, I might regret this later, but honestly, if you want to reach out, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me. I'm easy to find. And I'm always there, right? It might take me a couple of days to get back to you, but there's never ever been somebody that I've ever been like, I'm too busy. right? Like I take, you know what I'm saying is that if you've heard something that I've said today and you think that I could, help you because, I don't know, you're, mental health having a hard time and what resources, like from my experience that I've shared from, maybe you're going through cancer right now and you need to hear that cancer doesn't kill the majority of people. I wish somebody said that to me, Jeff, because I thought when I got the big C diagnosis that I was dead. And what I say to people is, you know what, I'm 2 years clean. I've gone from a 40% reoccurrence to 15%. Do not just assume you're going to die, right? Like maybe somebody needs to hear that today. So if there's something that I've shared and you want to reach out and have a conversation about it, then I'm happy to do that, right? Is that my life is about service. Like the thing that makes me most happy is serving others. And that could be in any way, delivering candy to the staff or, somebody to listen to. Like we had a murder suicide in Edmonton, which is obviously made the news and most people knew them. And a friend called me at 11 o'clock at night and he's like, he was friends with the individual and he just needed to talk. But my husband, I'm like, your phone's ringing at 11. I'm like, I know who it is. Right. And I talked to him on the phone and try to, calm him down and give him some comfort and support. And he'd do the same for me. The more we look after each other, the more ahead we're going to get. And we need to unite as a province. If we don't, some other province is going to do it and outdo us on the technology side. Like we got to be who we were born to be in this province, right? And that's Albertans. And it's thread through our DNA and our fabric, right? It is. You can't take it away. COVID, nothing can take it away, right?
Glori, you're an amazing individual. We'll be chatting more. Look forward to more updates. I appreciate you taking the time and everything you do for the community and in business, and can't thank you enough. So stay safe, stay healthy, and definitely let's stay connected on this.
And thank you for what you're doing, dear. Honestly, you and I think go back 20 some years to beginnings when we were babies and had no gray hair. And, it's been really lovely kind of watching you grow and evolve and become the man that you are today. And I think this is such an important initiative. And I just want to thank you for doing it and sharing the stories of kind of the behind the scenes, what it's like to be a CEO in this environment, right? So, thank you and God bless. And I'm here for you anytime. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Glori.